Hey crafty cuties, welcome to today's video. Today I'm just going to bring you along and we are going to craft together. I am making some pages for this junk journal right here, and this is going to a friend who is not really familiar with junk journaling, so I want to make some of the pages in here a little bit more easy to work with. And when I think of that, I think of a mini album, because mini albums are very set up for you. They are nice and clean cut, and I think they're really user friendly for someone who is new to journals. So I'm going to incorporate some pages that are more along the lines of a mini album, and we're just going to kind of fit it into the junk journal theme that we have going on. So first of all, I want to mention that I get a lot of inspiration and ideas from Genevieve Designs when it comes to mini album type pages. And so some of these ideas have just come from watching her videos over the years, the last few months especially. And so one thing I noticed with mini albums is that the pages are really clean cut and matted, and I love that. So we're gonna start out with actually just a blank page of paper here. I have it folded in half, and then keep in mind this isn't really going to be a tutorial. I'm just bringing you along as I go, so this isn't planned out. But so since we're gonna have 4 pages here to cover, and so I have cut out 4 mats. These are a little bit smaller than what the actual page is. Another thing I noticed is a lot of people who do mini albums, well, it's kind of hit or miss, but I would say that half the people I watch distress their edges, and then the other half is just, like I said, clean cut and probably has more like blank edges. But again, Genevieve Designs is my inspiration, and she does definitely ink up her edges. So we're just gonna start by doing that. These might end up getting covered up, but that way we'll just have this out of the way. And I'm probably gonna do like 4 pages with you guys. I don't know, I have 4 different ideas kind of mapped out. I am using a distress ink. You can see I'm going kind of messy because keep in mind I am in that junk journal mindset, and that's just kind of typically what I go for. And I would say the difference is a junk journal is kind of more spur of the moment, maybe a little bit messier, not so perfect, but I feel like you know, they definitely have a lot of similarities. So we're just gonna see what we come up with, and who knows, it might end up just looking like junk journal pages at the end, because that's kind of what I'm used to. Okay, now we could ink up the edges of our mats too, but just to save time, I'm honestly just going to keep going. So I kind of want to think about, so I have my mats here, as you can see. They're just honestly just a touch smaller, not much. And I'm probably actually going to sew these on, which is a little bit different. But for the first page, I want to make a frame. I noticed frames in mini albums quite a bit, and I noticed that there is such an interactive theme on all of the pages that we're going to do a frame at the top with a little pocket at the bottom for a tag. To start out, I am going to use this as my guide. I want the frame to be about this size, and I want the frame to be at the top, so I have a spot for a little folder at the bottom. So I'm going to actually flip this over, go ahead, and I'm just going to measure this out. Feel free to use a ruler for this part so that it's straight, but again, I'm in that junk journal mindset, so I don't mind if things are perfect. So I'm going to just mark, actually I'm just going to go all the way around just because we're not going to see the back, and I am going to want this to be a little bit smaller than what the card is. And I'm actually just going to use my scissors, just kind of punch a little hole here. And then again, you might want to use a ruler so that this is much straighter, but I'm okay with eyeballing it. And I am going to make the edges of this pretty with some lace. I think frames are a really nice element to put in a journal that is going to someone who's not so familiar, you know, with a journal or a mini album, because frames are an obvious thing. They're an obvious spot to go ahead and put something, you know, and so I think it's a nice touch. I'm just gonna kind of make sure that's a good size. That is. So now I have some pieces of lace here, and I'm actually going to sew these on. I love using a sewing machine, and I have yellow thread in here. I like that color, and I like how it's kind of different, I guess. So I'm just gonna go ahead and sew these pieces of lace on around, just so they're kind of even going over a bit. And so I'll just sew all of these on. And I can trim those edges as we move along. Here is the final frame. So now I want to add a little folder down below. And so I have just a piece of scrapbook paper that is just the same width. I'm gonna make it a little shorter, but I am going to make the top edge kind of pretty with this, this trimmer here, this edge punch. And I see these used in mini albums a lot, and I always forget to use mine. So I'm going to take advantage while I am thinking of it. And then I'm going to sew this entire panel or mat onto our actual page, just to kind of follow along with, you know, how I actually like adding pages into my journals, which is by sewing a lot of the times. I'm gonna trim this down just a bit. I'm gonna spruce up this pocket just a bit by adding some lace. Now I'm gonna sew this pocket on. Now you could just add glue or adhesive around 3 edges, but again, this is just kind of easiest for me. So I'm just gonna go around the 3 edges. And now I'm going to take our frame mat and attach it to our page. Now I'm going to sew it on. You keep in mind what you were doing with the back of your page. If you are sewing it on, maybe use some adhesive, but I'm just going to simply sew this really close to the edges all the way around the 3 corners. You do want to keep that top open so that you can slide down your mat. Now that you have this sewn on, you can see this slides down nice, but I need, or I want to add like a pull tab so that I can easily get this down as far as I need. So I'm going to take some lace and just sew this on to the very top here and flip it over so that we have a nice little pretty pull tab. Going to make it easy. And she can add a photo over this if she wants, or do journaling, but it's just nice to have a mat kind of included so that it is just easy to go. You don't have to figure out what size is needed. Okay, whoops. I'll trim those in a moment, but now we can easily push this down. And now what I want to do, try to get that going. So now that we have this, I also have just a random little tag that I thought could go right in front here. And so now we have our first page complete. I'm gonna add maybe a little pull tab on this as well. I have some scrap fabric here that is actually from her wedding that I also used on the cover of this journal, so I think it's kind of nice to coordinate, so I'm just gonna sew this on. For the next page, it's going to be pretty simple, but in mini albums, a lot of the times I see a lot of flip-ups, and especially flip-ups that come out. So this is really, really simple. We're actually just going to start by taking our first mat, and we're just going to, again, sew it all the way around so that we have that top exposed. And so I'm just going to start out by doing that. We'll just sew this, and again, use whatever adhesive you would wish to use. And now that we have our top loading pocket here, I took a piece of paper that's a little less wide, and I didn't fold it quite in half, but you can see I folded it so we have this flap. And so this is what will stick down into the pocket. And then you have this fold over so that you can still place a photo here, and you can lift up and have journaling space or, you know, spots for more photos. But again, thinking interactive, I was thinking it would be fun to place this right here because this would be a great spot for journaling. However, I'm going to just use my glue for this, and I'm going to attach it on the 3 sides so that there's an open pocket on the side here. And then we can place a tag or any type of journal card in this, just again for some more space. I'm doing this a little messy here, but I have a tag right here that goes with this collection. I'm just gonna kind of place it down just to add it all at once. And so I'm gonna place this down here. So now this can be used as a journaling spot, and there's a tag. And then we even have more room for journaling, photos, whatever. And then we have this here too. And while I have this edge punch, I'm thinking maybe I will go ahead. I could add some lace or do whatever, but I'm not really decorating too much right now, so I'm just gonna go ahead and... For this side over here, I'm going to make some kind of like French doors. Again, I see this a lot. A lot of people use magnets. I don't have any today, but anyways, I'm going to, of course, I have my piece to mat the back because we always need to make everything, you know, look nice and matted. So I'll probably just end up adhering that all the way down. And then I have some white paper, and basically I'm going to fold it into thirds like this. I kind of just measured so that I know it's not going to be too wide. And what I want to do is trim down these doors so that I have 2 doors that will kind of meet right in the middle. So I'm just going to play around with where I need to trim that off, and I'll be right back. So I went ahead and cut the doors down. Now I left one a little bit bigger. I do want to add something that's going to kind of make it look like, I don't know, like it kind of attaches the two like so. But first we need to, of course, mat this now. So I'm just going to use some of my scrap paper and mat all of the pieces, all of the pages on here. Okay, so now we have this ready, so you can see it's matted. I just matted the inside center. Of course, feel free to mat the 2 sides, which probably most people would do for a mini album, but I was kind of thinking to bring it to the very next interactive level. I am going to go ahead, you know, and mat the inside here, but before we do that, why don't we, I see this in mini albums a lot, just things flipping all around, and so I want this to actually flip down like so. So before we actually mat this, because we want everything to look nice and finished, I am going to take just a scrap piece of paper that's a little bit less wide than the page here. I'm going to fold it in half so that we have kind of like a flap, if that makes sense. And it's going to basically attach. I'm just going to add some glue. I'll just do it here with you. You can see I don't measure anything because that's just how I like to roll. We're going to attach this so that this is attached to our page here that we want to flip down. Just make sure that's good and attached. And then we're going to attach the other flap to the bottom here. And then we will mat over this so that it's kind of hidden, and it will also kind of secure it down. So of course, make sure that you are placing this down. Hopefully you can see that. Let me bring that up a bit. Okay, I want this to be down pretty far, but just make sure. There we go. Okay, and then see, this will flip down. So I'm actually, while the glue's still wet, I'm gonna pull that down just a tad more so there's a teeny bit of space. But then we're gonna go ahead and mat this so that it looks nice and clean cut. And again, you could keep this in as a pocket, but I have so many pockets that I'm just gonna glue this straight down like so. And that's really just going to make everything look nice and finished off. And then you have a space here for a photo or journaling, as always. And so now you can see that we have, let's see, our page here. And a lot of people would use a magnet here. I don't have one, so this just opens up like so. And then it also folds down. And I should probably mat the back of this as well, so I will go ahead and do that just so it looks nice and uniform. There we go. Now it kind of got on a roll here, and so when I was matting the bottom of this page right here, I actually went ahead and just left this side open so that it's like a little folder, and so now we have an additional space for some journaling, and that just comes out the side there. See, I get on a roll here. Okay, last one. So this last idea is just very, very simple, and we see this in all types of journals, but the first place I ever saw this was in a mini album, and we are just going to take our page that is matted already. This is just completely matted, and I'm going to actually fussy cut out around the image here, and there are lots of scrapbook papers that you see that have these images or designs that, you know, just cover the bottom like this. And we are going to make this into a pocket or like a tuck spot. So I actually cut this down to be the same width as our page. So I'm just going to carefully and take my time cut around this really pretty image. And while I see this, I said, you know, in all types of journals, I feel like I see these types of really pretty thought out pockets in mini albums. So that is kind of where I got the inspiration. So we have our piece cut out now, and as always, I love adding fabric and laces. So I'm just gonna add a piece on the side here so you can see what I have in mind. So I can add a little charm hanging off, and I see this in all types of journals, but I know I'm being redundant by saying her name, but I see Genevieve a lot use add like little charms or pretty little things hanging down. So on the edge here, I'm going to take this little bulb pin, and it has a teeny little charm that says made with love, and I'm just going to attach this to the top here. Just makes it a little bit easier to add onto lace or fabric, like so. And then we can go ahead and add our pocket onto our page. I probably would have preferred to sew this on, but I already had the mat on, so I am just simply going to glue around two edges, just the corner edges, bottom and the side here, and then we will have our little pocket or tuck spot, whatever you want to call it. Just make sure that gets glued down really well, nice and straight. And then I'm just going to add a couple little journaling cards that I have. They're just plain. And a little tag here for lots of room, you know, for journaling or adding photos. So I'm gonna let this dry. All right, guys, we are done. We created 4 pages kind of together. I definitely want to do this again because I definitely want to make some more of these type of interactive pages for this actual journal. Let's go through. So we made a frame with a little pocket in front. We made the little French doors. Now, I don't know the actual names for these, by the way, so if there's actual names, feel free to let me know down below. And this one folds down. And then we have this little folder on the bottom here. We have just our very simple fold up. I'm probably gonna decorate this, and then again, remember this comes all the way out so you can have access to all of that. And then we have a journaling spot here with a little pull out. And then our last page is just our little side tuck pocket that we have with a little charm on the side here. So I love how all of these turned out. This was super fun. I'm certain that I've probably created pages that are similar to these, but again, I was just really feeling like I wanted to add some very interactive kind of mini album inspired pages to my junk journal. So I hope this was helpful to you guys. Hopefully you'll give some of these ideas a try, and feel free to let me know down below if you would like to see more videos like these. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.